Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Israel Brief. Yes, it's that time of the day where we bring you the top stories from Israel and surrounds, as sponsored by Lay of the Land. I'm Raylene Marks, one of the co-founders of Lay of the Land, and if we haven't met before, nice to meet you. But you're not here to chat to me, you're here to get your news headlines, so let's get into it. And we begin with the COVID-19 pandemic and the latest updates from Israel. And it has been confirmed that the Palestinians have received a couple of thousand of the 5,000 vaccines that Israel will be supplying them with for frontline workers. The Palestinian Authority will begin its vaccine rollout at mid-February, and they are part of the COVAX program and will be receiving Russian Sputnik vaccines. In other major news around COVID, the government will be investigating the organizers who are responsible for the two big funerals in Jerusalem yesterday that drew crowds of over 10,000 to each. This has resulted in many Israelis extremely angry at what they see as the government unable to control the sector of society. Police saying that they are very reluctant to get involved there because it could turn into a bloodbath. Meanwhile, Israelis are roiling at this because many say the majority of people in the country are observing the laws of lockdown, and when we see this, it is really painful and hurtful. It also must be stressed that this is not the entire ultra-Orthodox or Haredi community, but certain parts of it. Meanwhile, Israel has vaccinated over 3 million citizens, and at least half of that are people who have received both, and the country continues to lead the world in our vaccination program. But what does it mean for Aliyah, that is immigration, to the Jewish state? Well, in stats released yesterday, it is noted that Aliyah from some countries like Russia is significantly down, but from other countries like France, South Africa, and America, the numbers are still fairly stable. And this is despite lockdowns and restrictions on travel and people not willing to travel between countries during the pandemic. So still a significant amount of people making the big decision to call Israel home within the last year. Now, next story takes us to Iran, and worrying news coming in from the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who has said that Iran have enough enriched uranium to have a nuclear bomb within weeks. The Secretary of State stressed that if Iran was willing to walk back its breach of the Iranian nuclear deal, US will be prepared to re-enter it. Meanwhile, Israel has responded by saying that all options are on the table, including military ones. Now, yesterday we brought you the exciting news that formal diplomatic ties were about to be established between Israel and Kosovo, and in a historic ceremony yesterday. Historic for two reasons. First of all, it was the establishment of diplomatic ties, but also historic because it took place via Zoom. Yes, with travel restrictions in place, the foreign ministers of both countries weren't able to travel to either country for the celebratory handshake and signing ceremony, so it all had to be done via Zoom. And a touching moment yesterday when our foreign minister Gabi Ashkenazi unveiled the plaque that will go on the Kosovar embassy that will open up in Jerusalem. Now, Kosovo is a majority Muslim country, and it is quite significant that not only are they opening their embassy in Jerusalem the minute they find the right premises, but also recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, and we look forward to increasing and strengthening those diplomatic relations between Israel and Kosovo soon. And our final story takes us to social media, and it's quite an interesting one because this very site has been affected by restrictions put in place by Facebook. Now, in a leaked email, it has been made apparent that Facebook are considering reviewing reviewing their policy as far as the word Zionism is concerned. The email hinted that this is because there are many interpretations to the word, and sometimes it is used as a proxy to attack Jews. Now, this has drawn a lot of criticism from some, saying that any restrictions on the word Zionism may prohibit some from the pro-Palestinian camp from criticizing Israeli policy. And on the other side of the coin, it really raises tremendous issues, because social media platforms are very important media that Zionist organizations that are not partisan in any way, or news channels like this very one, are being restricted, and we cannot get our messages across because of the current restrictions in place on anyone who is deemed perhaps political leaning in some way. Many organizations have complained that they have seen their engagement significantly reduced in the last couple of weeks. So if you are watching this on Facebook, if you do see Zionist organizations sharing news about what they do, how they educate, please share so that we can get education out to the world and people can see that it's not just a reason to attack the Jewish community or to attack Israel, but also an important means of educating the world about what Zionism actually is. So we will see how we move forward, but a reminder that the Israel Brief does broadcast on Facebook every Monday to Thursday, and we also have a YouTube channel at the Israel Brief. And if you would like to receive your daily news, all you have to do is click on the red subscribe button. But while we are all in lockdown or tier 1 restrictions or semi-restricted, we are all looking for things to do, and look no further than our website for original content. You can find us at www.layoftheland.online. Today you can read Sean Sachs from NGO Monitor's excellent expose on B'Tselem and the comparison to apartheid South Africa. It is also up on our Facebook page. It would really help us if you see this very video or any other content there to share it as much as possible. And also engage with us on Twitter. We haven't been shut up there, and you can find us at Lay of the Land 5. That's at Lay of the Land 5. So with the Tuesday edition of the Israel Brief, I'm Rolene Marks, wishing you good health wherever you are, and we'll catch up with those headlines tomorrow.